Hey, good morning, everyone. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Garry. I'm one of the pastors here. Welcome to the meeting place, and thank you for tuning in from wherever it is you find yourself tuning in this morning, whether that's your kitchen, your family room, dining room, bedroom, backyard, another province even, or another city. We're just glad that you're here for, as Peter mentioned, Kickoff. So are you ready for some football? I know some people are. Others not so much, like all those Seahawks fans out there. Sorry, Thomas, I had to say that. Hey, this weekend is actually NFL kickoff weekend, but more importantly, it's TMP kickoff Sunday. This is the Sunday that we actually get to take some time to quickly look back at where we've been, what's happening, but maybe even more importantly, where we feel God is leading us in this next season of our church. And so we're glad you're here. This is, if I had to bottom line this and call, say, what would I call this Sunday? It's Sunday Fun Day, because this is the day we get to celebrate and have some fun. And the fun starts now. And here's how. We sent an email out the other day. Maybe you read it, maybe you didn't. If you didn't, you're going to be trying to catch up here. But we're going to do something that we've never done in the history of the meeting place. We're going to get you guys involved in designing the service. And here's how you get to do that. You get to vote and pick the last song that the band is going to play today. Okay? You have a choice of 3 songs. They're going to show up on your screen there. Mighty to Save, Happy Day, or Great Things. Okay? And you have to vote in the chat room. And you get 1 vote. And that's it. And now you might be thinking, I don't see a chat room. That's okay. If you're watching on nanaimo.online.church, like from our website, you should be seeing the chat room. If you're not, it's for one of 2 reasons. One, you're watching from YouTube. You've clicked on YouTube, gone to our home channel there. Or you're watching on a large TV, and unfortunately, the platform doesn't allow for the chat room to show. No worries. You don't have to do anything. Leave that playing. Grab your phone, another device, computer, tablet, whatever. Go to themeetingplace.org. Scroll down to where it says Join Live Stream. Click on that, and you will see the chat room show up. And you can get in there, and you can start voting. But here's the thing. You got to do it now, because voting closes when I finish this message. Okay? And then we're going to let the band know what song you guys chose. So keep watching, and here we go. So looking back, 6 months ago, on March 11th, the World Health Organization declared the rapidly spreading coronavirus, they called it a pandemic. They switched the language to pandemic, and life around the globe, us included, changed, including the way we did church, or have done church. On March 14th, due to a banning of large gatherings to help slow the spread of the coronavirus, we live streamed exclusively, like this is the first time we've ever done it exclusively, into your homes. And we did it from Theater 6 at the Avalon Cinemas, and it was really bizarre doing it because all the seats were empty. There was just a handful of volunteers there, and that's what we did. And it was from our usual home at Avalon Cinemas at Woodgrove Mall. Well, that was short-lived, as the next week, the movie theaters all across Canada were closed. And so we had to make another shift. And so we went in with a bunch of staff and volunteers, and we grabbed all the equipment that we could think we would need to continue to bring you a live stream service. And so we grabbed computers and cameras and cabling and modems and sound equipment and music equipment, and we piled it all up, and we brought it to here, the underground, affectionately called that because, well, it's underground in a commercial building on Uplands, so we could come to you live each week. And just so you know, when I say live, I actually mean live. Like, I'm standing in the underground right now bringing this message to you. The band is here, we've got a sound person here, we've got a camera person here, we've got a media person here, and we love doing this. We love coming to you live because broadcasting live allows us to do a bunch of things. First off, it allows us to be together even though we're apart in separate homes, spread all over the place. Broadcasting live allows us to interact with one another in real time. And we do that through the chat room that I was just talking about. And that is made possible because we have a group of awesome volunteers who love people, love the church, love what we're doing, who are willing to actually host that chat room and say a friendly hello or answer any questions you might have. Broadcasting live allows us to have a virtual, private chat room that we call a prayer room. And it's actually hosted by live people who are willing and ready to talk and pray with you should the need arise during any time during the service. Broadcasting live means and reminds us that we're not alone. And that is due to an incredible team of volunteers and staff who make the Sunday morning live stream a reality. So I would just want to take a second and just to say thank you to all the volunteers. You know who you are. I would love to go through the list. We don't have enough time to go through the list. We'd run out of time this morning. But I just want you to know that, man, we love you and we so appreciate you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Broadcasting live reminds us that church isn't on hold. Church isn't canceled. It's not closed. And as some church leaders and pastors, in North America and around the world some are saying, the church is in danger of dying. If we don't start meeting together, the church is going to die. That's not true. I mean, it's not even close. The church is far from dying. I just want to share a couple of examples of why I say that. Our vision here at the meeting place is to be a church that is known for unleashing God's extravagant love in this city. And you know what? Despite COVID-19 and the fact that we can't gather together physically in a room at a theater at Avalon Cinemas, you guys have been doing that. One of the organizations that we partner with quite a few organizations in town that are doing great work, either locally or globally. And what we do is we come alongside them to say, hey, how can we help you? I mean, sometimes that's financially, sometimes it's by saying, hey, we got some volunteers, would love to help you out, whatever it happens to be. And one of those organizations is Crossroads Pregnancy Center. And they exist to provide loving, non-judgmental education and support to those who are in a crisis pregnancy situation or are in a post-abortion situation, and they do it through peer counseling. They do it with practical and emotional and spiritual help. And one of the ways that we partner with them is through, and if you've been around the meeting place for a while, it's a fundraising effort that they have every year called Operation Baby Bottle. And obviously, what we would do is on Mother's Day in May, we would hand out all these baby bottles, give you an opportunity to take them home, and for the next month, fill them with change or cash or whatever, bring them back on Father's Day, and then we would take them down to the Crossroads Crisis Pregnancy Center, and that would help fund what they do throughout the rest of the year. Well, obviously, with the pandemic in full swing, they had to make some changes like everyone else. And so here's an email I got. Listen to this. This is how you guys have been showing up, okay, and unleashing God's love. The end of July, it says, hey, Pastor Garry, the end of July marked the official end of our annual fundraiser, Operation Baby Bottle. We were uncertain about how the campaign would do without the ability to have a physical presence at churches and without being able to distribute bottles. Instead, we converted to a newsletter mail-out and an online campaign. And we took part in that. You may remember back in May, we gave an address that you could go to and you could give them money and help resource them financially that way. Here's what she said. She says, we are overjoyed to announce that we reached our fundraising goal. God is so good. And we know that we could have not have done this without the love and support of our extended church family. And that is you. Thank you for partnering with us and impacting our community with the love and hope of Jesus. Jennifer Miller, Executive Director, Crossroads Crisis Center. That sure sounds like unleashing God's extravagant love in this city. So way to go. But it doesn't stop there. Back in January, when we were gathering at the theater, we do this every year. We have Scott Bailey and a team come up from Camp Quanos. We are part owners in a camp in Crofton, if you didn't know this. It's in the same conference that we belong to as a church. And they exist for one reason only. And that is to get kids to camp so they can experience and hear about the God who loves them, who created them, who dreamt them up, brought them into existence, and just wants to love them back to life. And if you talk to Scott Bailey, man, the guy lights right up when he talks about this. And so he comes and he shares what God is doing at camp, and he shares these incredible stories. One of the problems is that they ran into is there was a lot of kids that wanted to come, but their family just couldn't afford it. And to Scott and the gang down at Quanos, it's like that's just not acceptable. And so they came up with this thing called Campership Fund, which we've taken part in. And we come side by side with the camp, with the parents, and with ourselves, and we help resource them so they can send their kids to camp. And last January, you guys stepped up to the plate in a big way, and you sponsored 16 kids who otherwise wouldn't have been able to go to camp. Well, then the pandemic hit, and camp was closed. It wasn't just a blow to the hundreds of kids that were looking forward to a week at camp, but it was a huge blow to Scott and his staff team and the team of counselors and all the people that work there, because they know the impact a week at camp can have on a child. Well, long story short, the BC government came out and said, you can go ahead with your camps, but like every other organization, churches included, they had to make some adjustments because it wasn't going to be business as usual. And for them, it was no overnight camps. They could have kids during the day in different pods running around, but they couldn't stay overnight. Rather, kids could come down for the day. And so they kind of made a massive pivot and said, okay, how can we do this? They came up with a great plan, but it required kids being dropped off and picked up every day for 5 days, for the week. Great idea, but as you can imagine, that wasn't an option for a lot of parents due to work commitments or maybe other commitments with other children in their family. Needless to say, not a great situation. Well, word got out, and quickly an idea was hatched about hiring a bus, renting a bus, so we could get kids from Nanaimo down to camp. And so after talking with health officials and getting the go-ahead and how to do it safely, a church said, you know what, we'll put us down, we'll sponsor a bus for a week. And then another church jumped on board, and another church jumped on board. And that's when I got a call from Tristan Clausen, the associate director of Quanos, asking if we, the meeting place, would be willing to financially sponsor a bus so we could get kids from Nanaimo down to camp for their last 2 weeks of camp. My heart right away screamed yes. It's like, yes, 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 we want to send kids to camp. But my head was saying, no, hang on a second here. It's just the way my brain works. And I started running all these scenarios through my head, like, oh, the what ifs, and what if this, and what if that, and what if giving drops, and we take all this money and we spend it here. But at the same time, I could hear our vision just ringing out. God's extravagant love. Unleash God's extravagant love. And I'm like, ugh. So here's what I did. I went, you know what? I said to Tristan, I said, you know what? We're going to do it. And I stepped out and I said, sign us up for a week. He was asking for 2, and I said, we'll do a week. Okay, God has a sense of humor. Watch how this rolls out. 2 hours later, that same day, I get a call from someone in our church asking if I'm home and if they can drop something off. They have something for us they want to drop off. I'm like, yeah, I'm home all day. Stop on by. A few hours later, they stop by. And we're talking outside our front door. And they say to me, they go, you know, I've been at the meeting place for years, and it means so much to me. It's helped me through some really dark times. It's blessed me and my family. And I just love what we do here. And I have recently come into some money, And the first thing I wanted to do was to give back to the organizations that have given to me. And so right at the top of the list was the meeting place. And he handed me a check for $9,000. I didn't even know what to say. I was just standing there like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. Now, coincidentally, like I say, God has a sense of humor. This was happening the same week that I was preparing the message in our Not a Nice Guy series on the words that Jesus said to Peter during the storm when Peter's, they saw what they thought was Jesus walking on the water, and Peter says, hey, if it's you, call me to come to you. And Jesus is like, well, come. And Peter hops over the side and he's walking on water. But then he sees all the waves and the wind and he begins to sink. And Jesus says, oh, you of little faith. It's a pretty humbling moment. And so sheepishly, I got on the phone and I called Tristan and I said, sign us up for another week. And here was the result. Check this out.
Hey guys, my name's Tristan. I'm one of the directors here at Camp Quanos, and I just want to say thank you so much. You have helped send over 40 kids to camp this week, some of the kids right behind me, and some kids coming next week, by sponsoring a bus coming from Nanaimo each day, coming to and from Camp Quanos. We're so thankful for you, and we're thankful for our partnership that we get to have with you guys. We love you, and we hope that we can see you soon.
You're starting something. You're starting something big. Light it up, make it shine all around. Know how.
Again, unleashing God's love. Yeah, the story doesn't stop there. I received an email from Tristan. This is incredible. And he shared with me in this email the story of one of their counselors, a girl who's 17 years old, that had just graduated from a school here in Nanaimo. And she was sharing at a staff meeting one night how she really looked up to one of her science teachers and learned that he was a professed atheist. And he had, in their last class, had shared, asked them, like, hey, so what are you going to do? Your first summer, graduating, what are you going to do? And she shared that she was going to be spending the summer at camp as a counselor. And he kind of said to her, off to the side, I don't know if that seems kind of silly doing that for a summer. But she did it anyway. Well, 2 weeks ago, here's what he wrote in his email. He says, 2 weeks ago, she had her grad at a local restaurant. The science teacher was there asking how camp was. She told him it was great and that the kids were having tons of fun. He went on to say, he said, my kids would probably have a blast. And they'd love to do something like that for the summer. Well, guess what? He sent his daughter to camp this past week. And guess who her counselor is? And not only that, both she and this daughter of this teacher are on the bus together. All because of your generosity. And he closed his email by saying this. He says, isn't it amazing how God worked it all together? So incredible. Pray for this little girl that she may hear and know the love that Jesus has for her. You are the light of the world, Jesus said. Like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. Although we can't meet the way we used to, it doesn't mean church is on hold, or it's stopped, or canceled, or closed, or dying. Despite COVID-19, church is still on, and God is doing some amazing things. And the really cool part is that you and I get to be a part of that. He's invited us into that story. So that's kind of where we've been and what's been happening. Now I just want to take a few moments to just talk about where we feel, and when I say we, I mean staff and leadership, where we feel God is leading us in this next season of our church. But to set the stage, before I get going, I want to read some words that Jesus shared to his closest followers after his death and resurrection. They are all gathered around, and Jesus said to them, he says, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples, followers of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples, these new followers, to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Those words are commonly now known in Christian circles as the Great Commission, because Jesus gave us a mission. And I love how it's co-mission, because Jesus is there with us. Like he said, I will be there with you. We're not doing this on our own. And so we're on mission, this Great Commission, to go out and share the love that we have experienced ourselves. And share it with people that maybe don't know God or don't know about his love. Maybe disqualify themselves from that love because of something they've done or not done, or something that's been done to them. Because as Jesus is alluding to, because if you don't, who will? He's going to share that good news. He's going to share some more words from the Bible written by a guy that we talk about a lot around here. His name's Paul. He ended up planting a bunch of churches, and he worked with churches to help them kind of find their way. And he was writing he used to write letters, and a lot of those letters are now gathered and preserved and make up almost half of what is now known as our New Testament. And he wrote a letter to some first century Christians in the city of Rome. And part of that letter, he was trying to help people capture the urgency of how much the people that they know and see every day are missing out on the best gift humanity has ever seen. In hopes of motivating them to go out and share this good news. And here's what he writes. He starts off by saying, everyone, not the select few, not the people that have it together, all that stuff, everyone. No matter what they've done, not done, what's been done to them, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But then he says this, but how can they call on him, referring to Jesus, to save them unless they believe in him? And how can they believe in him if they have never heard of him? And how can they hear about him unless somebody tells them? Now, don't misunderstand me. Please don't hear this when I say this, that I'm not saying we head to Home Depot and grab some paintbrushes and some black paint and some poster board and paint on, turn or burn, and then head down to the local, street corner and start flashing our signs around. No, not saying that at all. Spreading the good news of God's love starts with us first experiencing his mercy, his grace, his forgiveness, and then living that reality out in our everyday lives. Again, with God's help. Doing things that are the opposite of normal, like loving your enemies. And today that might look like, your coworker gets credit for some work that you've done, and everyone's like, yay, way to go. And people know that you're the one that did the work, yet you're not saying anything. You're actually cheering them on. And afterwards they go, why would you do that? Like, why didn't you say something? And it's all because of what God has done in your heart. All of a sudden those things aren't so important to hang on to. It's about encouraging others, and you get a chance to share that. That's how we are the light of the world, that city on a hill. And we shine God's light that is in us when we act and do things that from the world's perspective seem absolutely bizarre and make no sense. And why? So that everyone will praise God. They'll be turned and pointed to God. Teach these new disciples, these new followers, to obey all the commands I have given you. And I love how Jesus says all. This is where a lot of people get hung up and they go, oh yeah, here it comes. This is all the do's and the don'ts, and I can't do this and I got to do that. The reality is, There's only two. Jesus said it this way when one day an expert in the religious law came to him and said, okay, Jesus, tell us, what is the most important commandment that there is? What is it? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And then Jesus kind of pushes a little further and he says, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Those words are what, they are the very foundation of what our mission statement is built on as a church, which is we want to equip people to love God and love others every day, everywhere. Loving God, loving others. One thing the staff and leadership have heard and seen is your desire to grow spiritually in your relationship with one another and with God. And so with that in mind, we are committing to being more intentional in providing opportunities that will encourage you, that will challenge you, because in the end, those two things will grow you. And they'll grow you spiritually. I've had a lot of heart stuff going on, you know that. I had open heart surgery, all that type of thing, so all the heart lingo was kind of at the top of my head. And so I like to call that the ECG strategy: encourage, challenge, and grow. Because an ECG is all about letting you know where your heart's at. What's the health of your heart? And so look for that. Because following Jesus is so much more than just an hour on a Sunday morning. It's a new way to be when we enter into a relationship with him. It's a new way to be, a new way to live, a better way to live. And it's one that's holistic. It becomes part of who we are. I love Eugene Peterson. He was a theologian, and he took the Bible and he kind of put it in today's language. It's a paraphrase, but I love some of the way he interprets what is being said. So it's just a really easy way to kind of put handles on it. And here's what he said, and these again is from the letter that Paul had written to these first century Christians in Rome. And Paul wrote this to me. He says, God helping you, that's key, because this is, without God is pretty much impossible. He says, God helping you, take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. And here's the result. You'll be changed from the inside out. That's what following Jesus is all about. It's becoming like him, imitating the way he did life, the way he loved others, treated others. In his book, Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis, who for most of his life was an atheist, put it this way. He says, every Christian is to become a little Christ. The whole purpose of becoming a Christian, a Christ follower, is simply nothing else. And so to help you do that, we've started these connection groups. And these groups are going to be meeting throughout the week. We already have a few that are. And they're going to meet at various times, various days of the week. Because we weren't made to do life in isolation. And if we've ever felt that viscerally, it's these last few months where this virus has kind of kept us apart. God created us to be together, to be with one another, so we can depend on one another, to carry each other's cares, our concerns, our worries, our fears, our anxieties, celebrate together. And this season has been full of so much of that for so many. And here's the thing, when anxiety and fear and change push in, it actually oftentimes causes us to withdraw from people, to isolate ourselves even further, which is why being part of a connection group is so valuable, because they provide that connection, that community, that belonging. And whether that happens in person or online, doesn't matter. What matters is being intentional in building those relationships and those connections. And that's up to you. to just take that step and say, I'm going to try this. And right now, if you wanted to try one out, we have a men's Zoom group that meets Tuesday mornings at 7 o'clock. I'm a part of that. We meet at 7 in the morning. One thing I love about this, and this is the same for all the groups that we have, is we've had, we'll go through a book or a book of the Bible, or we'll read a book together or whatever it happens to be. But there has been so many times when somebody has shown up to the meeting and they've got something going on in their life, and we just put it all aside and we just listen and pray for them. It's incredible. In a week, not tomorrow, a week tomorrow, the Monday morning ladies group is starting up. And if you want to get on the action for that group, the men's group, or any other group, just go to our homepage, themeetingplace.org, and right at the top of the page, you'll see connection groups. Just click on that, fill out the form, we'll get you plugged in. If you want to start a group, we'll tell you how to do that. If you're not familiar with new technologies like Zoom and FaceTime and all that, we'll help you with that. As well, we're going to be offering online workshops and courses. Courses like EHS, Emotional Healthy Spirituality and Relationships, Money Matters. We're putting together a Bible 101 boot camp, which will help people understand how we got the Bible, where it came from, how we read it, why we can trust it, things like that. And they're all going to be designed to give you opportunities to invest in yourself and accelerate your spiritual growth through practical tools and deeper companionship with others who are wanting to grow right alongside you. Kids and parents, man, we haven't forgotten about you. You may have felt that way, and if you have, I apologize, but we want to up our game around that. So if you have kids that are Kids Place age, we have resources that are available for you. Just this past week, we made that available to you. If you just go to themeetingplace.org, and right at the top of the page, you'll see TMP Kids. Click on that link, and it'll take you to 3 age-appropriate videos, anywhere from preschool right on through. And you just pick whatever one's appropriate. And on there, they're professionally done, is a great message so kids can learn about the God who loves them at their age-appropriate level, plus there's a craft, and we're going to renew those every week, every Sunday morning, so you could watch it before you join this service or watch it after this service, whatever works best for your family. Youth. On September 20th, the youth are going to be embarking on a journey together through Youth Alpha, which is designed to engage students in conversations about faith and life and God and how that all works together. But here's the thing, space is limited and it's filling up fast. So if you want to be a part of that moving forward, that's going to take us right through until December, go to themeetingplace.org, click on the City Youth link, and you'll see a sign-up page there. But hurry, because space is filling up fast. I think there's 4 groups right now, and so we're really excited about that. Now, you may be thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of stuff. How the heck are you going to pull that off with such a small staff team? Well, I thought you'd never ask, so check this out.
Well, I guess that's it.
Russ,
Garry!
you are amazing.
Well, I ought to be after 20 years. And there's something I should tell you.
What's that?
I'm not left-handed either.
Inconceivable.
You know what? I think that was my last time playing at Camp Quanos.
Inconceivable.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
So, you finished your job at Quanos?
Let me explain. No, there's too much. Let me sum up. Yeah, I think I've wrapped up my role at camp.
So, what now?
It's very strange. I've been in the camp business so long. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life.
Wow. Well, I don't know. Have you ever thought of church ministry, associate pastor, that kind of thing?
Let me think about it. Okay, I'm in. When do we begin?
I don't know. October sounds good to me.
As you wish.
Inconceivable!
Hey everybody, my name is Russ, and like you heard in the video, with all those great lines from The Princess Bride, I've been the music leader at Camp Quanos for the past 20 years, and I'm stoked to be joining you guys at the meeting place, coming on staff as associate pastor, and joining you in your mission of unleashing God's extravagant love on this city. So can't wait. See you soon.
Awesome. How cool is that? I am so excited to be welcoming Russ on our staff as our new associate pastor, who's going to be overseeing music and discipleship. His first day is in October. It's October 6th, actually. He's just taking a month to kind of just decompress from 20 years at camp before he joins us here on staff. But I am stoked to be serving alongside of him as he brings a ton of energy, enthusiasm, and ideas to the table, tons of talent, but more than that, his love for God. And so I know Peter and I, we're just jacked up about this. It's going to be a great ride. I'm glad you're here with us. So I don't know about you, but I'm fired up to see where God's going to take us this fall. So what do you say, TMP? Are you up for the ride? You up for the challenge? To grow and to experience God in a whole new way as we move forward, despite COVID-19. Who cares about COVID-19? We get to gather together every Sunday. I am so glad that you are here on this journey with us, and I am glad that I get to journey with you. So, voting is now closed. We're going to find out in just a few minutes what song you guys picked, but before we do that, I'm going to pray. God, it is so obvious that you have not stopped working. And even though our physical locations for church are closed, and it's easy to use that vernacular to say, oh, church is closed, church is canceled, it's on hold, or it's paused. It's not. Because church is so much more than brick and mortar. It's flesh and blood and bone, and it's people getting together and hanging out and learning together and journeying together. And we get to do that with you leading the way. And so we're so thankful for that. We're thankful for the volunteers that are willing to step in and help us pull this off. And we're thankful for all those that, whether partners or attenders, that just love what you're doing through the meeting place, unleashing your love on this city and helping to equip people to love you and others every day, everywhere. Thank you for loving us. And thank you that you include us in your plan to go change the world. And we pray this in your name. Amen.